From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, so it turns out important people did want to move on from Mike Norvell. What's that mean moving forward? Matt LaSerre hops on to break down the top 15 recruiting class, and Corey discusses his wait-and-see philosophy. Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. warchantbogo, your promo code. Shout out to all those who sent me the screenshots of their orders. I will get those polos sent out early next week. I'm not in Tallahassee still, and that's where all the shirts are. Shout out to our guys, Sagnas, Ty Noles. Not exactly sure how that all worked together, but that's one person's name, and they're the last one who sent me their screenshot. So appreciate that. You all can still buy one and get one free when you use that promo code WarchantBogo over at Vitamin Energy. It is synergistically formulated to not only give you all the energy you need to make it through your day, but also vitamins that provide some nutrients that helps out your mind, stay focused better, put you in a better mood. Lord knows, we might all need some of that for the next 8 months. Although Corey's here, everybody. He's always got a smile on his face and a good tale to tell us. VitaminEnergy.com, WarchantBogo, your promo code. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. Come join us. Please. That sounded weird. I didn't mean it like that. I didn't know what to promo, Corey. The Cyber Monday deal is long gone, and I don't know if we're back to doing $1 for a week and a year subscription, but shame on you if you didn't take advantage, but it's still out there for you, warchant.com. Come join us. Us being everybody at Warchant and myself and Corey here on this program. Corey, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing? You doing awesome? You doing great?
Dude, I am. I got so much done on Wednesday. This is me bragging, but I'm not really trying to brag. I think I am done Christmas shopping already, and I think I went so overboard that I can actually defer some of this to probably Valentine's Day too. So it's her birthday tonight on Thursday. So
right.
It's the fiance's birthday tonight. So some of the presents are being given to her tonight that are actually credited for Christmas. But yeah, I got everything done. Feels pretty good. I like waiting till the last minute. I like the frenzy of a retail store in late December as everybody hustles and stresses to buy. I just, it makes me feel like Christmas is here. How are you, man?
But then you didn't do it. You went ahead and got it all done. So you don't like it that much.
It was right in front of my face. It was like, all right, well, this is on sale. This is
was
here
it a bidet?
Right no, I'm thinking legitimately that might be groomsman gift.
A bidet?
Yeah,
buddy. Well done.
You know,
your groomsmen will love it.
I think they will.
Love it.
I think they will. You did not talk about bidets on Seminole Headlines on Tuesday. That was my soundtrack as I did my sojourn across the Jacksonville metro area doing all my shopping.
Let me ask you what I asked both of them. I think I did it in the second hour. Yeah. Like when we're arguing like that.
It was great. It was fantastic.
Is that good content?
Yes.
Okay.
Because again, to Jeff's point, he believes obviously very passionately that Mike Norvell's a broken man. There's not a lot of good things to feel, not a lot of good right now. Your point is wait till the roster gets formed and then start putting together your assumptions. He then counters back with listen, I don't think they're even going to be able to. They don't have enough runway. I think more so that than money maybe to get the roster intact. And then Ira's kind of again. I think Ira gets pigeonholed as like the positive guy. I think Ira. Now, Ira's been doing this for so long. He's by far, in my opinion, by far the most trusted person on the beat. Maybe not in terms of you folks listening to him, which you should be, but I think people around the program, people within the university power structure, they trust Ira. That they can give him information that helps helps him inform his opinions and his writing that gives, the administration, these people, their context, their side of the story. So no, I mean, it wasn't rude. I don't think you guys were in, sometimes you guys interrupt each other and it gets a little too much locker room kind of busting each other's chops. But no, I thought it was really good, man. I was really
just to reiterate, because I did it on the message boards too. One guy started a thread, said I'm the mayor of Fantasyland because I said they could be good next year. Well, by God, they could be. They could be. We live in a world where the Vanderbilt quarterback is probably going to win the Heisman Trophy. And if it's not him, it's the Indiana quarterback. And Indiana might be the best team in the country, certainly one of the top 2 or 3. We're all living in fantasy land. This isn't the college football world. We're all in the upside down. So with that being said, yeah, Florida State is bad now, but look around the country. That doesn't mean, even with Norvell, you might have to win in spite of him being here,
right?
Which, again, is problematic. I get it. But you can win in spite of him being here. You can get a good roster, even if you think he's the dumbest human being on earth. You can put together a roster that can be competitive and win games in the ACC. That's my point. Not that it's going to happen. Not that I believe it's going to happen. But Jeff, what I pushed back on that started it was Jeff saying, they're not going to win 9 games next year. And I'm like, no, I don't. You know they're not going to win 9 games next year, but you don't either. Because we don't, like I said a couple shows ago, anybody that tells you they know how next year is going to go and they know it's going to be a complete disaster again, don't listen to that, because they don't. As I pointed out, nobody in our studio, we all knew they weren't going to beat Alabama. So much so that I kept wanting them to cancel the game.
Yeah.
And then they end up beating Alabama. We don't know anything. We think we have educated opinions. And there are a lot of data points that suggest next year won't be very good either. I'm not disputing any of that. But as I told him, you just have to at least entertain the idea that it will be better. You can't just write it off and say there's no chance. Because, otherwise, what are we doing?
To his point, and I think my point, and the people that, maybe are being a little too abrasive towards you right now, is that it feels like it's such a limited, small possibility that it should not fill a lot of our conversations about what next year is going to look like. But then I get your point and Ira's point, like, well, we can't sit here for 8 months and be like, they suck. They suck. They're going to keep sucking, and this is what life is.
Well,
like
also,
now.
It's not an informed opinion right now because we don't know anything about the coaching staff. We don't know anything about the roster. Literally nothing. Yeah, we don't know who's coming back. We don't know who's staying. Those are the same things. We don't know who's leaving, who's staying. We don't know who's the additions. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be.
How disappointing is that for you? I mean, for me, as we sit here and record and publish this on a Thursday, if you would have told me that they would not have had really anything majorly announced, and that's nothing has been announced.
But I think that has to do with signing day, right? Like, don't you think you get through signing day or signing days as an opponent? Because there's no point in announcing.
He got off that podium inside the Moore Center last year after that Florida debacle, and I don't know, man. Within 24 hours, Gus Malzahn was on his way to Tallahassee. It felt like, is that
true? Was that the timing?
I should. Yeah,
that name had come out. The Malzahn name had come out before the Florida game. That had come out a few hours before. I don't think Tony White came until maybe he was a little bit after signing it. But this is just the natural order of things. Like, if you're going to make major restructuring, and I don't know if they are or not. I hope they do. If you're gonna make major restructuring, then man, I don't think you do it when you're trying to lock down a class that you think is decent. I mean, whatever it is, top 15. It's not top 2. But it's top 15. You got 10 or 11 4-stars. You want those guys to come. And you want it to seem stable at least until you pull the rug out from under them and say, hey, those guys you committed to, they're all gone. But that's college coaches have been doing that forever. Sorry, 18-year-olds. You got to learn about life at some point.
The money's still going to be there. The money's still.
Well, that's true. The bag is still there. So I think I would have been surprised if there were announcements in these last 2 days. Now I'll be surprised if there aren't announcements. Actually, today or Friday, because we talked to Norvell on Friday. I think we'll get more of an announcement, a plan, a vision, if there is one, about what this thing is going to look like in 2026.
So the Florida State game last year was November 30th, a Saturday. Gus Malzahn was announced by Florida State officially on December 2nd, which was a Monday. Tony White was officially announced on a Thursday, December 5th.
Yeah, and I think the difference is, right, though, that you had openings, right?
Right, you got rid of those guys.
You had already fired those guys.
Yeah.
So you had openings. So this is different because they're there. They're in place. And, again, at this point, I would be surprised if Tony White left. I don't know what people would have seen that would make you want somebody else. Like, he was good at Nebraska. He was good at Syracuse. I thought his defense this year was pretty good in totality. When you look at all 12 games, there were obviously horrible moments. We get all that. But I also come back with I don't think he has great players. I don't think they didn't spend the money on that side of the ball like they did on offense. This year, with another recruiting class, another cycle, I just trust that guy knows what he's doing. And he'll get better players for his system. So I'm all aboard the Tony White train. Right.
Even
Gus,
after the way
we'll
they
see.
looked against Florida, you process and we move past the way they looked to Florida.
I just think, man, you know what? And it's an indictment of him. I'm not saying it's not, but you know, you had a team that you had a defense that clearly didn't want to play hard. Now, do they not want to play hard for him, or do they not want to play for the head coach, or do they not want to play in a bowl game? I don't know, but none of those guys wanted to go tackle that kid. I don't think Tony White is built like that. I think it mortified him how they played in that game. And I don't think he'll make excuses for it. And I think he's the kind of guy that will never happen again on my watch. I trust that. That means better players, different players, stronger players, whatever it takes. That was like rock bottom to me for Tony White. But the previous 4 games, they were good. So I don't know. It was an awful showing. He doesn't get excused for it, but they were just out physicaled, man, and I don't know, man, outmanned. They were just outmanned and out physicaled.
I did have a follow-up regarding the Cameron show, but this is the remnants of the Renegade Express mailbag. So we'll go to random_John, who I think kind of summarized a little bit more of the Jeff Aslan Tom thought process. Good morning, guys. Gene mentioned in the Renegade room how divided the decision makers were. That is what worries me more than Norvell coming back. Just how fractured is FSU's leadership right now? Because if they can't agree on keeping the coach, how do they suddenly come together to hire a GM, bring in a quality quarterback, stabilize a program led by a coach who has clearly lost the plot? Is this leadership capable of pulling that off? I mean, it's the same leadership that told all of us 7 and 17 in 2 years is good enough.
So I would say to counter that, and that is an absolutely astute, fair point. You can't argue with that. If they're divided, if there is really pushback on both sides, if this is not a consensus, that does give you a lot of pause. But if there isn't a consensus, if it is divided, why would you want that leadership structure then going and hiring another coach? You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't trust them to get that right either. And then you've just thrown more money away. And again, at some point, you got to get this right. Hopefully it started on Wednesday with what you hope is a productive signing class, and then it really kicks in with the portal that opens in January. But until then, like I don't. Oh, and actually, I think maybe the lead of the story, Aslan. I don't know if you saw this. We're recording maybe before you saw it, but ESPN had a story on Wednesday about the pursuit of Lane Kiffin, and they said that Michael Alford for months was pursuing him. Was pursuing him stealthily. Florida State was pursuing him stealth. This is Mark Schleybaugh writing this, which is good to know Schleybaugh's still alive. He pops up once every 5 years, usually about a drug test or something. So it's cool that he popped up.
Or autograph signings.
Fellow UGA grad, by the way.
Yeah. Grady School, let's go.
Great, that's right. Represent, stand up, Schleybaugh. I can't wait to read your next article in 28. That Alford and Florida State were pursuing Kiffin stealthily for at least weeks. I think it said months. And then the middle of November is when they found out for certain Kiffin wasn't coming. And that's when they decided to keep Norvell. Talk to me about that. What do you think? I want your instant reaction to that news. Now, it's not sourced. It is sourced, but it's anonymously sourced. I don't know who told him that, where he got that information. Alford might vehemently deny it, but Schleybaugh's been doing this for 30 years, man. I trust that he's pretty sourced up on that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I believe it. That sounds extremely plausible to me, and I kind of like that the reporting's coming out, because then that lets Mike know just how close they were to getting rid of him. So either, that pisses you off. So
does that make you feel better about the leadership, though?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. Yeah.
You and I, listen, I'm not putting us together on this one. I'll divorce us from here. I don't think, I have not really articulated an opinion one way or the other on Michael Alford, but a lot of that is because I'll be honest, I do not know the people that Jeff Cameron knows that are much more well-heeled into funding and keeping this entire program afloat. But, man, the hires that he has made, unless you can talk about Link Jarrett was a layup and was right there, him and Penske, and we'll see with Luke. We can maybe talk about basketball later.
Yuck. Yikes. Holy cow, Luke.
But no, I mean, I feel like Michael Alford's put his name out for some other job, so maybe he wants to get out of Florida State, clearly, but I think he's a competent dude. And listen, Bill might be scoffing at this. Well, he signed Mike Norvell to that extension and agreed to all the changes they just made. Fair. Some of that's hindsight, obviously. But no, I think Michael Alford, he's been around some really powerful people that have made some really bold decisions in their lives.
Well, apparently he had a relationship with Kiffin from his time at USC, when Kiffin was at USC as an assistant coach and then maybe as the head coach, too. I don't know if he was still there as the head coach.
Wasn't that some of the reporting, too? I don't know, was it from us or after the fact when Mike did sign the extension that, like, if he had gone to Alabama, Kiffin was the first move Alford planned on making.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why I think it's completely believable. And, yes, that does make me feel better. But I didn't feel terrible about the administration either. So I don't know.
But the way you can view that, and again, we are in a bad place, folks. This is me standing in the rubble, hoping sometime that the plane gets rebuilt again. And there were no casualties, by the way, on the plane crash. I don't want it to be morose. It was a drone. Drones are planes, right? There could be, they're pilotless planes, right?
Aviating devices, or
sure.
Aeronautical devices. I don't know. So,
the fact that they were like, I think Florida State fans would love to know that, just for the fact that they aren't okay with this. Yeah. They were trying to find a solution.
They are big boy football.
The best solution for them was to try to go get Lane Kiffin, which would obviously have been a home run and would have been worth, I think Schleybaugh said the money would have been, the total buyout number for that coaching staff to leave would have been $74 million, which is insane. But that would have been worth it if they could have gotten Lane Kiffin. So their thought process is, we could have gotten in, and I think Kiffin is the slam dunk. Like, I think he's going to be good at LSU. I'm scared he's going to be really good, but he's not going to I don't think he'll be a disaster. What he did at Ole Miss is pretty remarkable, honestly. And if you can win at Ole Miss, you can certainly win at LSU. We'll see. Nothing is a guarantee, but he is as close to a guarantee as there is out there. So that to them, at least according to this story, that to them was worth the $74 million gamble to try to go get him. Other than that, there was nobody left out there that maybe they thought was worth the $74 million this year, this cycle. Again, they didn't want Franklin. Don't know why. They didn't want Hartline. Congrats to him. He's at USF. Hey, man, that could be a one-year rental.
Will Stein's at Kentucky now. I mean, he's from
Both
Kentucky.
Those could be, But I think Hartline especially, watch that now. Like, if this thing doesn't get better and USF's pretty good next year and he shows he can run a program, buddy, I'm all about that life.
Why? That's a Power 6 coach, though. He's a Group of 5 coach. He's an AAC coach, though.
Yeah, but he's a Group of 5 coach that did what he did at Ohio State. He didn't come from Troy. He was at Ohio State. I want the guy that signed Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. That's the guy I want. And the Saints receiver, Olave.
Yeah. And Jamison Williams was an Ohio State wide receiver,
right.
and he transferred
who's
to Alabama.
Who's the guy with the Bucks right now?
Abuka, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Yeah, man, there's legitimately like 10 complete just ballers that guy has landed. It's crazy.
I'm all about that dude. So I want to see how he can run a program, but that's a person to keep an eye on if this thing doesn't get better. I really like that. I think that could end up being a couple years down the road.
Nice pipeline.
A really good spot for Florida State to go if this thing doesn't get back on track. But again, I just think that kind of lays it out for you. Okay, good. At least they were trying something behind the scenes. And they didn't embarrass themselves like Florida did. Now, they've embarrassed themselves because they kept Norvell. Clearly, I get it. But they didn't embarrass themselves by publicly being, rejected.
Yeah.
Like Florida has been every time they've tried to go hire a coach these last 15 years. So they were behind the scenes trying to do something with Kiffin, according to Schleybaugh. It didn't work out. And now they thought, okay, we still got this big money. Is it better for us? We were shooting for the moon. Now, are we going to settle for this guy that might not be very good at all, or are we going to try to run it back and see if this can get any better? And they decided on the latter. Yeah. We'll see if it was smart or not. Odds are it's not going to be great next year. I understand that, but at least they were looking. At least there was a thought process to let's see if we can get the guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because it does kind of go into the other part about listening to headlines on Tuesday. I'm like, I need to save this in my mind and bring it up when I speak to Corey next. I know both you and Ira were, pushing back on the Florida State's not a big boy football job, or they're not playing big boy football because they've held on to Mike Norvell. But Florida is, like, they went and got the guy from Tulane. That makes you.
Or Penn State.
Yeah, that's.
They big boy?
Not great.
They're going to hire their, DB's coach. Their interim coach is not. They have the 150th recruiting class in the country, by the way.
James Franklin's has taken everybody.
Franklin took them all. They have 4 people. They still don't have a coach. Brom turned them down.
Oh.
The guy at BYU turned them down.
Sataki.
Everybody's turned them down. They're going to end up hiring a position coach that's their interim coach to probably be their head coach, which it has been an unmitigated disaster there over the last 2 months. Now, but they're the ones that care, right? They care more than Florida State. They proved it by making what could be a catastrophic decision. I don't know that keeping Mike Norvell is a catastrophic decision, because next year you can remedy it. I don't know that when's Penn State going to hire another football coach? They've completely missed a recruiting cycle. They have 4 guys committed. What's Florida State have? 30? Penn State has 4. Yuck. But anyway, Florida, Auburn, they're all the big boy schools. Florida State isn't a big boy school. They're not a serious football school. That's the problem I have is the not serious Florida State because they didn't fire their coach. If only they could be serious like the likes of, let me look here, Auburn, who's had 1 million coaches in the last 15 years, Florida, who can't ever get it right and hired a guy from the AAC. If only they were serious enough to go to that well of coaching acumen known as the AAC, again, because it's been so good to them already.
Yeah.
That makes me sound like I'm defending it. I just want to get this out because I push back on that notion. They might be right, they might be wrong. But let's not act like Florida State doesn't care.
Right. They care less than Auburn. Schlabach's reporting proves as much.
Right.
So, but, when you guys talked about do Florida fans feel any better going into 2026 than Florida State fans? And I know you've looked at a lot of stuff on social media, and it sounds like they're not all that excited in Gainesville, but it kind of goes a little bit to the heart of this whole, not to the heart of the problem. The heart of the problem is too gigantic to talk about in one podcast, but a new head coach gives fans hope, but it brings a new energy, a new direction to your football program. Not saying I don't know, John Summerall is going to be good at all. I don't know, right. But he at least brings a different level of energy.
Yep.
There's some machismo to this guy that maybe listen, you already have some pretty good players on your roster if you're Florida. If those guys just play a little bit harder, at least they stick around because they think this guy's got some juice to him. He's got some swag. All right, I can play for this guy. And he's able to he's got an NFL GM that, listen, Dave Caldwell, mixed bag, we'll call it. Mixed results as his term as a NFL GM. But I think I understand we want to get away from paying coaches all this money and trying to make it be the end all be all of your successes. It's your head coach or bust. Because, right, get a good quarterback, get a good GM, have good evaluation. But, man, a coach is still important, man. The head coach sets the agenda for everything. And to Jeff's point, what does Mike Norvell even believe in himself and his messaging? Yeah. I know you said that he's going to have maybe a half of a new roster. But, man, just this year he goes from edge. It's all about edge. And then by week 8, it's they just need to cut loose and have fun. And then by week 11, it's, they just got to do your job. You just got to focus.
Don't forget the beating on his chest.
Yeah, so there's all these swings. He doesn't even have a good idea of what to do to get a hold of this program. So, again, it's hard to sit here and advocate for spending $70 million or whatever to get rid of him and bring in an AAC coach. But there is a level of, I think it's more reasonable to think that you will be better in Gainesville than we feel right now at this point. Again, we haven't seen the rosters, though.
100%, and that is fair. It's just not. It's not reality, though. It's an opinion, and it might be. It's an educated opinion because Mike Norvell has given us plenty of data points to prove that this ain't the guy. We all understand that, and I'm almost of the opinion that you're going to have to win in spite of him, which again isn't a place to be, but. Again, I just want to, and I don't want to sound like a broken record. There was no good decision. It does look like it's a decent signing class. I do think that these guys doing the evaluating are better than his previous staff. I think that proof was last year in those guys they brought in. Some of those guys can really play. Some are going to be NFL players, in my opinion. So that's a plus. We'll see if these 4 stars are as good as the last set of 4 stars, and then all of a sudden you got at least a little base of something. But no one's arguing this is good enough. No one's arguing this is okay. No one's arguing they're on the right trajectory. And certainly nobody on this show is arguing that Mike Norvell has any pulse of this team at all or knows what he's doing. At the same time, the money is the money. And so you can throw it away. You can literally throw that money away and say, here's all that money to go away. Or you can hope that a better roster and a better structure can limit his negative impact on the team and that he can grow up as a coach and figure it out. Like, you hate to be like a learning curve for this guy. You hate to be a classroom or an experiment, but you made, in hindsight, a ridiculous mistake 2 years ago. You're still paying for it, but you're paying for it. And you're as I told Jeff, you're not drawing dead. You don't have a 7-2 up against a made flush. Like, you have a 7-2, but you haven't seen the flop yet. That's a little poker analogy, everyone.
It is. It's a pretty good one. Pretty apropos.
The flop might be 7-7 deuce, and then you've got a boat, and those kings are broken, and you win, and everybody's happy. Now, odds are that's not the case. But when you have a 7 deuce and you go up against, I don't know, ace king, what are your odds of winning? 31%?
When did I get Doyle Brunson as my co-host?
I'm Phil Hellmuth. I've got
Daniel Negreanu?
I'm Negreanu. Yeah, I'm a thinking man's. I don't know anything about strategy or percentages. I know that if you have ace king, you have a much better chance of winning a pot than you do 7-2. Yeah. But it's like a 75 to 25 split. Right. So right now, Florida State has a 7 deuce, but the flop, we don't know the flop yet. So let's see what let's see what it turns out to be this year. This year, if it's another disaster, if this guy seemingly has no clue again, if you think head coach in this day and age is the most important aspect of a football program, again, I would argue in the NFL, I don't know how true that is. I don't know how true that is in the NFL. No. I don't know that NFL teams are desperately trying to hide. Like, if the Falcons,
there's McVay and Shanahan. There's a handful. There's a handful.
And Sean Payton has had good years and bad years. I think he's a good coach.
I do too.
But I don't know that the Falcons would be like, God, at all costs, we got to go get Sean Payton. Right. Like, I think it's. I come back to war. I don't know what Andy Reid or Sean Payton, we'll call them the really good coaches, what their war is over Raheem Morris. There's a number there. But is it 5 wins or 1.5? I don't know how impactful moving forward that head coaches will be on a college football program. I think it's everything around them, including, obviously, most importantly, the roster. The problem with this guy isn't so much his strategy, his coaching acumen, even connecting to players. I don't care, man. Is Lane Kiffin connected to those? Was he connected to those Ole Miss players?
No, but he's dialing up and evaluating good players.
Exactly.
Like that
was what my next sentence was going to be.
Right.
My problem with him isn't that he doesn't know how to figure out the pulse of his team. He doesn't get good enough players.
But
he doesn't get good enough players.
He put himself in a position, Corey, this year where that's all his job was to connect the players and extract as much as he could out of them.
That's not what a head coach. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. They stripped him of everything, so that's what he thought his role is. But that clearly didn't work either. But that's also dumb. I don't need that. I don't need you to be connected to your players that much. I just don't. Who cares? They're connected more to the strength coach and their position coach anyway. Those are the people they see all the time.
Yeah.
The head coach is the head coach. Again, I'm not ripping on Bobby Bowden, but I don't know how connected that 99 team was to him or how connected they were to their position coaches. He was really good at what he did, and he was really good at delegating talent or delegating responsibility.
I can't believe you keep bringing up Bowden to
because he's the best coach there's ever been.
I know.
And even he, I don't think you thought that, like, in 2000, man, they're just playing really hard for Bobby Bowden. No, man. Bobby Bowden got good coaches and great players. It wasn't about playing hard for that guy or trying to leave it on the line.
Man, he was a legend. He was a legend.
Oh, that's true. He was a legend
man.
then. He was maybe like 87, thinking about like the birth of the dynasty.
Okay.
But back then he was calling plays. So, again, not the best example. I'll go back to Lane Kiffin. I only use Bowden because he's
don't
here.
use Bowden and Norvell in the same breath, please.
I know, but I'm not saying anything about. But
some people might.
But get a grip, everyone. The best moments of my life are because of Bobby Bowden. Literally. Sorry, Stephanie. Other than and Shanna and Brady. A lot of people. But yeah, those are the main three. But, yeah, Bobby Bowden has been great to my life. He's the reason I do this. So, again, I'm just saying that the thought of a head coach and the pulse of the team, I don't know, man. In 2026, especially when it's so transitional, I don't know that matters as much as having acumen to do your job and be able to evaluate. He clearly hasn't been good at that. They are stripping him away probably of more of that. So now he's just he might be an empty headset, man. But an empty headset might be worth saving $74 million if you can build everything up around him. I hate to refer to him as that, but that might be what they're trying to go for. In fact, I had a guy at Orange Theory on Wednesday. He had a conspiracy theory. Tell me what you think of this. His name was Mark, I think. Mark, thanks for listening, buddy. I think it was Mark. Come on, Clark. Get it right. We both did the Tread 50, by the way, just running for miles next to each other.
Let's go.
And he did ask if we got into a fight after the first hour of headlines. I'm like, no, we actually really do like each other. I thought it was good radio.
I did too. I didn't feel it was animosity at all, man.
He has a conspiracy that Florida State's going to strip Norvell of so much power that he might want to quit. Like I was like, that's a great idea. Bring in a general manager over Norvell that says, before y'all go on the road, before y'all get on this plane, I need to see every page of y'all's game plan. Every single page. And I'm going to put red lines through things that are dumb. What are your talking points before your pregame speech? Let me see those too. Here are a couple more red lines. And then Norvell's going to be like, I can't work like this. Then quit. Please. Quit, man. You can do it. Quit. You saying you're going to quit? Are you going to quit, Mike? We'll even pay you $20 million to quit. Maybe it's a one big conspiracy to try to strip him of so much power that he can't work. I can't work like this. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting and a funny conspiracy theory. But yeah, man, Norvell hasn't been good enough at getting players. But I don't. If he has a connection with next year's team or not, if the quarterback likes him or not, I don't care. I think the defensive players will play hard for Tony White. I have no idea what the offense is going to be, none. So I can't even make a prediction. But I just hope they get a good quarterback, and then maybe you can somehow manage a successful year. And then you've mitigated this disaster, and you have not paid $76 million to start over again.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, located at 2475 Appalachia Parkway, the place to be to watch your favorite teams or just have a fun night out in Tallahassee with some friends, eating delicious food, reasonably priced, as well as those ice-cold beverages. Dartboards, billiards, jukebox, live music on the weekends, 40 television screens. There'll be something on that you like, and if you want it closer, just ask. They'll know how to do it. They'll literally be like, oh, that TV you want on that channel? We got it done for you, everybody. Bingo night going down on a Thursday, 7 p.m., 4 rounds, $250 up for grabs in each single round. Get involved. Bring a friend. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Matt LaSerre giving us the whole rundown on signing day. Coming up right after this.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and NAPA Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway. Welcome back. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, warchantbogo, your promo code. We got that dude on the show, everybody. Matt LaSerre, staff writer for warchant.com, does a lot of awesome stuff recruiting-wise, but you probably already know that. Matt, how was your signing day? I asked you off air, but how was it?
It was good. Been up a while. Had to get at my desk at like 6:45 to have everything ready to go. But
nice.
In general, pretty clean. Nothing bad happened for once.
Okay. Well, did anything good happen in terms of surprises? Again, I'll be honest with everybody out there. Like I was running around Wednesday doing Christmas shopping because I'm a weirdo. It's also my fiance's birthday, so I had to get all this stuff done, Matt. But were there any big flips, any kind of big positive surprises from signing day for Florida State?
Yeah, so there were two surprises. One wasn't really a surprise. We saw it trending that way, but the biggest surprise was probably right at 7, the first signee to come in. Probably going to butcher this pronunciation because I haven't had to say it at all yet. Nikayu Hepi.
From New Zealand. Okay.
Yep, from NFL Academy Asian Pacific. He decommitted from Auburn after Golish got there yesterday, and then was the first signing in today, and kind of was a what's going on right off the bat. But yeah, it was. I talked to him pretty early on in the morning, within the hour of him not really flipping, but signing with Florida State, and he said that FSU was in contact with them within the hour that he decommitted from Auburn yesterday or on Tuesday. And man, this kid is huge. 6 foot 7.5 inches and 370 pounds.
That's a large human being.
Yeah, they didn't really have any true tackles in this class, so that kind of filled the spot that they needed to last second.
I feel like, is it Jordan Mailata? I think Jordan Mailata, who plays for the Eagles, I think he was originally like an Aussie rules player. He's from Australia. He's not from New Zealand, though. They're different countries, Aslan, Australia and New Zealand. But yeah, there's been some stuff here with these guys that played some rugby professionally, then transitioning to American football. So interesting to see if the NFL Academy stuff that's been all about outreach, and Bjorn Warner's been part of the European side of things. A very interesting acquisition for Florida State. Again, as Matt said, 6'7 and a half, 370 pounds, large human being. Was there any concern about Karan Maycock, rather? I know that was one guy that I'm like, man, I hope they can hang on to this guy. He's at a position of need. I know he's not ranked all that high, but he just seems like, I don't know, anybody from Miami Central, I'm like, sign him up.
Yeah, he was one that was probably the last one. Well, I won't say the last one flirting around, because it was one that was kind of went into this morning, but he took an official visit to Texas pretty late in the cycle a few weeks ago. And, I think if he wanted to go to Texas, he would have gone to Texas. And then last week, or maybe the week before that, Justin Wells of Inside Texas, the On3 Texas site, put a RPM pick in for Texas to land a different linebacker. And it was pretty clear that Texas only wanted one more linebacker in that class. So you look at the dominoes and you can see, well, that ship with Texas and Maycock had sailed, and that had also come right after Norvell was retained for 2026. So I think this was one where once Norvell was retained, and once there was once there was clarity there that he was going to be coached by Mike, that he was coming. And I think that was the biggest thing for him, was having clarity and knowing who the coach was going to be. If that doesn't happen, I bet you he goes to Texas. But obviously, this is where retaining Mike is actually good for recruiting, at least for this 2026 class, unlike what everyone else likes to say out there.
All right, well, let's go over is it fair to call Chauncey Kennan the headliner, or are there some people that might think Isaiah Williams is? Both those guys, top 100 prospects. Williams, a linebacker, 80th overall nationally composite. Kennan, 51st overall composite. Defensive back out of Sarasota. Which one of those two do you think is the headliner of the class? Or is there somebody else that I didn't mention that would be the headliner of the class in your opinion?
Yeah, it's definitely one of those two. I go Isaiah Williams just because everyone wants linebackers after seeing the linebacker play the last few years at Florida State. The DB play has been decent, right? Surtain's a good coach and a good recruiter. So that's not one that you look at as a need right away. I go with Isaiah Williams just because I think out of this class he has the best chance to be a day one starter. And really, even if his knee rehab, I'm sure if you pay attention to recruiting and you know that he actually had an ACL injury and missed most of the season for his high school, that actually contributed to Florida State being able to land him a guy of this high caliber. But from what we've heard, the knee rehab is going really well. He's going to come in early, enroll early in the spring. He won't be contact in the spring, but we'll have the green jersey on, and we'll be full good to go in the fall. And I really think this is your guy who has the best chance to get a lot of playing time early on as a freshman and maybe even start. I won't go that far yet, but that is the one who has the best shot.
Yeah. Well, we know at least if Tony White's going to be retained, he's not shy about starting true freshmen, so that definitely makes it a possibility. We'll bounce back and around as I'm just scrolling through the list here, but Jalen Anderson's a guy that came on a little bit late out of JUCO, Pearl River Community College, which again, I was in Mississippi for 4 years. They take their junior college football really seriously. Pearl River, not one of the historically stronger programs out there in Mississippi junior college football, but a position of need, obviously defensive end. edge guy, 6'3", 235. That to me sounds like somebody who's more of a pass rusher rather than an edge setter. 7th overall JUCO prospect. How excited do you think the staff is? How do you project out Jalen Anderson, Matt?
Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how his body develops once he gets here. This was one I was a little bit worried about going into the morning. I exchanged some messages with him before the basketball game Tuesday when I was covering that, and I said, like, hey, because he took an official visit to LSU last weekend after committing to Florida State. But obviously Kiffin wasn't on campus until Sunday night. So I texted him and I go, hey, have you had contact with LSU since Kiffin took over? The defensive staff, I think, is staying the same there. But that's besides the fact the head coach can still come in and say, no, like, we're not entertaining that anymore. And he said, yes, he had. And then I didn't hear back from him until this morning when he had signed. I had heard from someone close to the recruitment that he had signed, was just waiting for it to go official, and then he told me as well, and then was still waiting for that official word to come out. It took like an hour or 45 minutes for it to become official. But yeah, in general, I've been pretty big on that. I think Tony White truly needs his guys in this defense, and I think that was a part of the problem this year. Obviously, it got better as the year went on, with the Florida game as an outlier there at the end, but I think you need a guy who's a true jack, right? Stephon Thompson might have been that. Omar Graham, that they said at the beginning of camp that he had that skill set. He's a natural pass rusher, but that wasn't what he was recruited to do, right? So I think that having a guy like this that's recruited that can play that jack role and, like you said, be a pass rusher off the edge naturally like that, and that's what he's recruited to do, I think that's perfect to be able to come in for this defense.
Let's talk about some skill guys. Obviously, Jaden O'Neal, the quarterback in this class, composite 4-star from Oklahoma, ranked 370th in the country nationally. But then Brandon Bennett from American Heritage High School, wide receiver. Amari Thomas, the running back who had been, I don't know if he was ever committed, but then it was obviously committed to South Carolina for a minute, running back from Blountstown. What do you think about what Florida State was able to do at the skill positions, considering a lot of people think that they might not have the same offensive coordinator and kind of plan on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think they did really good. When on the Smash earlier this week and stuff like that, Todd brought up how it's kind of surprising how this receiver class is so good, considering that the offense's MO has been to run the ball. But I think the receivers are used well in this offense, where like a guy like Devin Carter, right? He's a smaller, more of a slot guy who you can use in those speedy specialty positions, like you saw a Mekhi Danzy or a Squirrel White kind of, right? And that works out perfectly in Gus's offense. And in general, like Ephraim White is a guy that kind of came down to the wire as well. NC State was trying to make a push for him at the end. He visited there last weekend, and he hadn't visited anywhere else really since the summer at that point, except Florida State. And he's one that's always been heavily tied to Gus Malzahn, even when he committed to Florida State when Gus wasn't the OC yet, because he said once Gus got hired that it was his favorite coach when he was recruiting him at UCF. So that even bolstered it more. So the rumors of him leaving, I'm sure it didn't help that. And I'm sure that's what contributed to him going and taking that NC State visit before he eventually signed. But that's a guy who also there's been talk about him playing both sides of the ball. Amari Thomas, he flipped from South Carolina a few weeks ago. That is one that I really like. I saw him at 7-on-7 camp over the summer. The build is incredible. He's really fun to watch play in general. Like he just used in the crowd of the Blountstown team, he clearly stands out. Like it's like, okay, yep, there's a Thomas. I remember we were sitting on the sideline and someone went like, you can't tell by the calves or something like that. And then you looked and you're like, oh yeah, that's just different. Yeah. But yeah, in general, a lot of good skill players. Tight end Corbin Fordham is a guy that I'm excited about. Todd Fordham's kid. In general, there's a lot of 3-stars and people are going to complain about that, but there's some promise here in a lot of them.
Yeah. What do you like about Fordham? I mean, he's got listed at 6'3.5", 215. I mean, obviously him being a legacy is always a cool thing. And also Jameis Winston's younger brother, Jonah Winston, part of the crew too there. And then obviously Devin Carter, another legacy part of this class. But what is it about Fordham? Anytime Ohio State's involved in their recruitment and you win out, that's always a good sign, it feels like, at least to me, Matt.
Yeah, it probably felt that way about Brock Glenn back in the day too.
Oh, ouch!
But
it's too soon.
But I like Fordham a lot. He's a very athletic tight end, right? Like he's you lean more towards Randy Pittman than a guy who's a blocking tight end, a guy who could really be more of a receiver and be very versatile in this offense, whatever offense they run, whoever the OC is next year. If Gus leaves, I think he can still fit in nicely. Mike, no matter what, has always used a lot of tight ends in his offense. That goes to before Gus was here when, 2023 when it was Jaheim Bell and guys like that. Like, it was just, they've always used multiple tight ends. So I think it's, they tried to get 3 tight ends in this class. Obviously, Hezzy Kent ended up going to Florida, but I think that was part of the issue, is that 3 was a little too many for a class for Wynn. I think in the Norvell era, they've never signed more than 2 in a recruiting class, or more than 1 in a recruiting class, sorry.
Yeah. Jonah Winston, what do you think about Jonah? A 3-star consensus prospect. I mean, not nearly as highly touted as his brother, but, you have to at this point, I feel like, if you're Florida State. You can't be letting a legacy of that stature, because you got 105 guys. You can take a couple quote-unquote chances, it feels like.
Yeah, and this class in general has a lot of legacy flair to it, right? Like, you also have Noah LaValle.
I forgot about Ionata, too.
Yeah, LaValle, Ionata, Winston. We went over Fordham.
Devin Carter, yeah.
Carter, yeah, there's a lot, like a good legacy. Could have been one more with Timmons. But it's – sorry, I'm bringing up all the negatives a little bit. Jonah Winston, this is one that when he first committed, or when we knew it was trending this way, there wasn't much competition there. I think the only other official offer when it came down to it was Buffalo. Auburn was in there a little bit at one point, but he's one that I don't think was in front of the right people for the longest time, like not really going to many of those camps that would get him ranked and stuff like that. And I think if he got in front of more people throughout the process, he would have been higher ranked, because he had a good high school season. He had a few really good games that highlights were making the rounds. I think there was one game on ESPN that Hoover might have played IMG or something like that, and he had a big play. And so, yeah, the talent is definitely there. It's obviously he's not one that you're expecting to come in and contribute right away, but he's got a shot to kind of surprise you later on, I think. He's one that I do like. Again, it was like a smaller slot, speedy guy.
Yeah. Mention Ionata on the offensive line. We started this off talking about the surprise news with Heppy's commitment, formerly of Auburn's recruitment, the young man from New Zealand. Luke Francis, another guy with some international flair, was down there in Miami. How do you think Florida State did overall on the offensive line? Sorry, I almost called you Corey, Matt.
Going into today, I was kind of worried about it, especially when they lost Deron Parks a few weeks ago. And we kind of didn't really know where they were going to go, right? There was a lot of offensive tackles that they could have gone after that they just didn't really push the pedal on. Like, there was an Aaron Thomas they could have gone after. But still a lot of, I think, and I know you guys have had this conversation before, I know Corey has, offensive line is one where the stars I don't think really matter. It's all about how you develop them and how you bring them up. Yeah. So it's I'm kind of a wait and see. Now, the size on some of these guys is insane. Like Stephen Moore, JUCO guy who they got on Tuesday before signing day, 6'5", 315. Luke Francis is listed at 345. I don't know if that's right, but 6'5", 345. You got some size here that could really, like, worst case, if they're not good at blocking, it's going to be hard to get around them.
Right. All right. That's not a bad one. And then also our guys from Havana are out there. We got the twosome of Jacoby Green and Dalen Green as well from Gadsden County. So that's always good to rally the flag so close to campus. Defensively, I guess just kind of bigger picture. I mean, I know we talked about, obviously, the headliners of this class are probably a defensive back and a linebacker that they addressed edge with a guy like Jalen Anderson from JUCO. How do you think Tony White and staff were able to put together a solid defensive class?
I think they did a pretty good job. Like I said before, I'm pretty interested to see this defense once Tony White gets all of his guys in there, not like ones that he inherited from an Adam Fuller when he came in, like guys that are recruited for his skill set of defense. One that we haven't talked about that was a pretty big get, and kind of surprised that there was no funny business or anything in this recruitment after he committed in the summer, was Ernest Rankins. Ernest Rankins was one that, it was a pretty heavy Auburn lean down there over the summer, and then committed to Florida State when they were on that big run or at the end of June into early July. And that was one where you kind of expected, all right, so who's going to come in here at the end and make the offer you can't refuse and change it all up? But again, didn't visit anywhere else. And I don't know, and then just nothing happened. I don't know if that's like there were still flips day, signing day in general, but like not for Florida State, but I wonder if in the rev share era, it's getting less and less where a bunch of kids move around, and it's going to be more staying put because you're going to have your rev share deal or have all these contracts in place already, that it makes it a lot easier to hold on to a class like we saw today, hold on to a guy like Ernest Rankins after he commits in the summer, when it seemed impossible to do that for anybody a couple of years ago.
Last thing for me, any thoughts on the flip from USF out of Dorchester, South Carolina, Jamin Pinckey, 6'5", 217. That's an intriguing frame.
Yeah, this is one that has had a great senior year and got evaluated late. He visited for the Miami game, and they offered him in person. It was thought that he was going to take an official visit after that, sometime later in the season for like the Pitt game or the Virginia Tech game, and then that never happened. He decided to stick with USF, and then Golish goes to Auburn last week or over the weekend, and that reopens the door for Florida State to kind of take advantage over the last few days going into signing day, and obviously it worked because the only other offer there for Power 4 was West Virginia, but this is one that a lot of people are getting very high on late, and I agree with them. There's a lot of potential there. That's probably one of their better edge rushers that they got in this class here at the end. And, West Virginia, for being the only other offer, was throwing around a lot of cash today if you look around, and it's good to see that Florida State was able to take advantage rather than them. And then it is interesting that Golish didn't offer again at Auburn, but you don't know how much he was running the defensive recruiting. Like, it could have been someone else's call. So, but yeah, that's what I'm actually really excited about. And was a very good get to kind of end the day, and then officially sign not long after.
All right, so big picture, I did some really quick counting, so don't totally quote me on this, everybody. But if you look at the rankings on Rivals.com, Florida State 14th as we sit here and record this segment, Matt. So who knows? There might be some people that jump ahead of them. But just in terms of their average star rating, they're 20th. So, I mean, listen, you're 7-17 the last 2 years. You're coming off a 5-7 season. You did not look great against your rivals, especially your in-state rivals. This, to me, feels like a pretty best case almost kind of undersells. Like, Kennan and Williams, those are real dudes. I mean, if Anderson's something that they can build with in terms of an edge rusher, they got some pieces. I like Brandon Bennett too. I don't know if he's the next Malachi Toney. That would be really cool. But just, I guess, your overall thoughts that Florida State was able to bring in a class that's 14th overall, and then if you want to look at average star rankings and break it down that way, they're 20th.
Yeah, I think the 14th is more because they signed a lot of kids, right? Because it's 30 kids. It's a lot more than what they normally sign or what they have the last few years that I've been doing this. And, it's I do think it, going through it, off jump you see like, a bunch of 3 stars, and that's what everyone says. But there's a lot of chance for potential here. Like, there's guys like we've mentioned, like Corbin Fordham, who's a 3-star, but, Ohio State was in there. That's probably really a 4-star talent. Darion Williams was a guy who was very high ranked at one point. People are high on Jordan Crutchfield. Amari Thomas is really a 4-star, even though he's an industry 3. He has been ranked highly during the cycle at one point. Jaden O'Neal as well. One guy we didn't talk about that I'm really excited, and as we're recording this, I don't think he's officially gone in and signed, but he announced it at his school ceremony that he was. Jason Lopez, who's also a basketball commit. So that's one that's a dual sport one that I like as well. And yeah, in general, there's a lot of potential here. And I think what it really shows with it being such a big class is that you have a lot of depth going into next season, to where when you go into the portal, you're really looking for just sure things again, right? Like you won't need to stack a bunch because you need guys on the bench just in case 1, 2, and 3 get hurt. You'll have them in these young guys that you can develop, and they can go in if they need to. And now in the portal, you can go after sure things. Boom.
There we go. Look at that, everybody. Comprehensive rundown of the entire signing class, courtesy of Matt LaSerre. LaSerre Matt on the Twitter machine. Give him a follow. By the way, before you go, though, Warpath. What's the latest on the Warpath? When will that be dropping, Matt?
Yeah, I think we're going to do it a little bit later this Friday and try to get it after the press conference. It takes time to record and edit when that thing's at noon. So it'll come out probably later than the normal 3 o'clock. I think, I don't know, you would know this better than me. I heard Corey and Ira are doing a wrap from that too. So there'll be a lot of content after that.
All right. Well, you have fun doing that because I'm not going to be there on Friday. Appreciate you. That's Matt LaSerre, everybody. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you.
Underdog Fantasy Sports, get involved. Bowl season on the horizon, but before that, it's championship week. JMU, Bob Chesney heading to UCLA. His team playing Troy. His quarterback's available for a 219.5 passing yard, higher, lower proposition. Get involved. BYU taking on Texas Tech. Baron Morton, the quarterback for the Red Raiders. 1.5 passing touchdowns against that stout BYU squad. I don't know how I feel about that one. Georgia Bama line available for you. Lots of player props there as well. Put them on your pick 'em. Just remember, if you're going to do multiple guys from one team, you got to pick an opposing player in the same game. You can also only choose one of the higher lowers per player. So make sure you feel ultra confident about the one that you're choosing. Choose Underdog, though, everybody. Download the app today and sign with promo code WARCHANT to score $100 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Underdog, make picks, win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code. I mentioned this in passing in the first segment, Corey, and you didn't mention anything about it, so I want to yell it out a little bit louder. But the reporting from Schleybaugh that maybe Florida State was working back channels and just talking directly to Lane Kiffin. If you're Mike Norvell and you hear that, like they were actively like, this is how much faith they don't have in me. Again, this is a challenging moment for him if he hears that. Listen, I'm not.
That's a good word. It's a challenging moment.
I'm not a dog like that. I ain't built like this. Like if I heard that Gene was reaching out to somebody else to take my job, I'd be heartbroken. I think this could be like it has to be a galvanizing point for him because, again, when you talk about losing all these responsibilities, man, I've got video of him during the Florida game where everybody's huddled around Gus during a timeout, and then Mike is just walking around he's on the outside, literally looking in to what's being done for his football team. So, man, not that he ever lacked motivation. He's told us that he cares about winning more than anybody else, and losing hurts him more than anybody else. But that's we're running out of things to try. Not that I think this was a motivational ploy by any stretch, but man, as a competitor, you hear that's got to affect you on some level, and I'm curious to see how he will respond, Corey.
Oh, it's all about response, right?
Yeah.
Well, judging from the last 6 years, he's going to respond great. It is crazy that he's about to go into year 7. Everything I just said about the reasoning, and I will continue to say, and I think Ira and I always want to stress this, we understand why they did it because of the money, but as I asked Ira on the show, and I had to stop him, I was like, do you think Mike Norvell deserves to be the head coach at Florida State? And he goes, no, but I'm like, stop. Let people know that you don't think he deserves to be the head coach. That's it, because so much we feel like we have to explain why they did it that it sounds like we think they should have done it. We're just explaining that side of it. It is reprehensible what these last 2 years have been. It is reprehensible. Don't know what 2026 will be. You could argue that it can't be worse, but yeah, it can. We've seen it. So I have no idea. I hope they get a good quarterback, and I hope they get some dudes that can play. Again, like I said, they had the 14th ranked recruiting class, which is Clemson was 19. Oklahoma, they're ahead of Oklahoma. They're ahead of the great Texas Tech Red Raiders. They're right behind Florida at 13. So you're right there in the mix, man. You're not being embarrassed. You're not in the 50s or 60s. You're still getting good players. Let's hope the evaluation is better, and they're not just – they're throwing bodies at it, man. They got 30 signees. But then again, USC's got 35. That's crazy. I guess, I don't know, maybe there aren't any limits anymore to how many you can sign. But, yeah, they got 35. North Carolina's got 40.
They're stealing people from Texas. They're getting flips from Texas in Chapel Hill right now.
Oh, are they? All right. Yeah, so they got 35. North Carolina's got 40. They've got 33 star players. So, anyway, just saying, like, you have a new roster. You're going to have half a new roster. Hopefully the guys that stay are all good players. And I do think, like, if Herb Hand's here, I do think he knows what he's looking for in offensive linemen. I definitely think Tony White knows what he's looking for when it comes to defensive players that can play. That gives me a little bit of hope. Not a ton. Because as Jeff says, maybe he's broken, maybe he's cursed, maybe he's just the worst football coach in the country, and you're saddled with him for another year. But there is a chance. Is a chance. Is it a 50% chance or a 5% chance? I do not know. But there is a chance that they'll be better next year. And you can't lose hope, because without hope, what do we have, Aslan? What do we have? We got
facts.
Nothing. Well, sure.
Data points.
We got data points, but they're not great predictors. Right. That's my pushback, is that they're not predictors of this current college football world. Yeah. It shows that he's not very good at evaluating talent. Well, we don't know what his coaching staff will be. But again, you look around, there are no predictors. Other than we know Ohio State and Georgia are always going to be good, I guess. There are no predictors from year to year that are markers that are absolute certainties that means that can't happen, that he can't turn it around. Look, he's got according to the data points, or data, he's got a 33% chance of having 10 wins next year, right? If we want to go on his history, 2 out of 6 he's had 10 wins. He's got a 67% chance of not getting to a bowl. Those are they're your data points for you.
It's like such a poison pill. It's like, man, we could live. I don't know if Ira was mentioning it on JCS, or maybe Jeff was talking about himself, or you guys talking about it on headlines. Just like, yeah, man, I think you were talking about it on headlines maybe last week about, like, you realize it's not the 90s. Like, Florida State's not going to compete for a national title every single year.
Right.
Just don't let the lows be so
correct.
Unbearably
that's what's so
low. Yeah.
That's what's so impossible about this. Like, literally, they've won 3 ACC games in 2 years. That they've spent that kind of money. He's made $21 million, and they've spent whatever they've spent, tens and tens of millions of dollars for 3 ACC wins and 4 Division I wins total. Well, 5, I guess, if you count. No, yeah. They had Kent State, Alabama, Wake, Virginia Tech, and Cal. In 2 years, those are their 5 wins.
Fernando Mendoza,
wins.
They beat Fernando Mendoza. He's going to be in New York City. They beat Kalen DeBoer and his
beat Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
And then they lost to 2 interim coaches.
Yeah,
because that's how it works. So yeah, there's no confidence in this, but it just doesn't mean that next year will be awful. You're not anchored to awful. Just even if your head coach isn't any good, you can win in spite of them. I know that's not the rallying cry. That's probably what they won't say at the booster events. Yeah. And I think what hurts Norvell is he has been here 6 years, man. There is no hope, and we're tired of the messaging. There's nothing he can say. He said he's going to fix it. He said they're going to be hoisting championships again, hoisting trophies again, and then they went out and got embarrassed in Gainesville and lost in Raleigh right after he said that. There's nothing he can say. They're all just words. And there's really nothing the roster can look like. Save for getting the Mensa kid from Duke, there's really no, or maybe the North Texas kid who's a freshman, the quarterback from North Texas. Right. Save for getting someone like that, there's nobody that's going to give you any real hope going into the season. It's just we got to see it on the field. You got to see it on the field. If they look pretty good through the first 3 weeks, maybe they lose a close game at Alabama, maybe they beat them by 4 touchdowns. Who knows? Even then, because it's this guy, you'll be like, yeah, that looked pretty good, but what about last year? So we just have you got to see it on the field, but it is not an impossibility that Florida State can be good at football in 2026. I promise, even with Mike Norvell as the head coach.
Oh, we added somebody in the mailbag, R. Willix 27. Glad the suppressing season's over and we can wake up for hoops in baseball. That was posted before the Georgia game, by the way, everybody. Say Gus were to move on from Florida State and we go grab someone like Cade Bell. He brings along Mason Heinchel. If we're able to retain the skill guys something like this, quarterback OC combo, feels like one of those only kind of moves that could rejuvenate the fan base. What do you think? So yeah, to your point about a minute ago about that, there's not a lot even roster wise maybe that he can do to change things, but like if you got Cade Bell and Heinzel from Pitt.
Yeah, man, I absolutely think that wouldn't that lift your spirits a little bit? Like, Pitt's offense was really good. I know they were bad against Miami and they were bad against Notre Dame, but they put up like 30 or 40 on everyone else, including this Tony White. And that quarterback is something to believe in, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think that was smoke and mirrors. I think he has a real tool set. I think he has a real skill set. He's tough. He can run. He's mobile, and he makes some pretty ridiculous throws. Yeah, man, I think that would get people, I don't know, fired up is probably too strong, but a glimmer of hope. And again, people will be like, yeah, but it's not Norvell that you're excited about. No, duh. Nobody's excited about that guy. You've got to bring in other personnel that will get you excited. That quarterback and OC that's now, for 2 years, has proven he's pretty good at the ACC level, right? I think Bell has proven he's pretty good.
Did not do as good of a job this year as Gus Malzahn. They were 64th in total offense, 18th.
Pitt was?
Yes, 18th in scoring.
Oh, how did that? Oh, well, I like that. How is that? That doesn't even seem to jibe. How are you 64th in total but 18th in scoring? You just put up – you either score 50 or –
So the
like the Notre Dame game, they had 150 yards or something?
Yeah, I think their lows were pretty darn bad. They didn't do anything against Miami either, clearly. But yeah, I mean, their third down percentage is not great. They're 120th, so maybe they move the ball a lot on first and second down, and they can't get to
plays.
The red zone. The red zone offense was 76th.
What I liked about that offense, though, this year is their best player, and again, it's just perfect Mike Norvell luck. Their best player is that Reed kid, right?
Desmond Reed, yeah, the back.
I feel like the only game he played the last 2 months of the season was in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
And he had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He didn't play against Miami. I think he was hurt before the Florida State game, and he was hurt almost immediately after the Florida State game. Yep. But he was there in Tallahassee, which is like, of course he was, because it's Mike Norvell.
My gosh, he had 8 catches for 155 and 2 touchdowns. Running back.
Yeah, bring him too.
He had 6 and 9, so 14. He had 15 receptions the rest of the year. He had 8 in one game against Florida State.
I mean, right? He got healthy for one game just to torch your team and embarrass you on your home field, and then he was like, I'm good for the rest of the year.
He did say it, though. He said that he wanted to play in that game because he came and camped at Florida State, never got an offer, and he took that personal. So,
Yeah, of course he did.
And then the backup to him is a kid from Longwood. That probably is a better running back than, some of the other guys you have on scholarship. But that's neither here nor there. All right. We'll get Mike on Friday, everybody. So we won't do a show on Friday, but we'll have something to talk about on Sunday. There was something else I wanted to bring up, and I totally forgot about it, of course, so I shouldn't have said that out loud. But let's talk about hoops real quick for a second, I guess.
All right.
I wasn't able to really watch a lot of the Battle in the Bay against A&M over the weekend. And then I wasn't able to watch the Georgia game because I think we had engagement photo shoot or something. I don't know. The days just blend into one another. But I saw Luke had a very fiery response at the podium. They got a lot of people excited because he's, kind of calling people out and saying that this is not acceptable. I don't know. Was this something we should have been bracing for? Because if they don't shoot well, like every other team in the country, they're not going to be able to win games? Or is there something else that's like glaring that shows that this season might be a lot more painful than we anticipated 2 weeks ago?
Well, yeah, man, these have been really troubling. Like, they competed against Florida. They played hard against Florida. I know it was an exhibition game, but they played hard against Alabama. They made shots. They played with confidence. None of those guys are playing with any confidence right now, and they're not playing hard. I mean, Georgia got anything it wanted. And I think Georgia leads the nation in scoring. I don't know that Georgia's a very good team. I mean, they're not a bad team. I don't know if they're a top 10 team in the country, and they embarrassed you on your home floor right after you would have thought after what Texas A&M game looked like, which was essentially another home game, by the way, in Tampa, how embarrassing that was. You would have thought they would have come out and played like their lives depended on it the next time they got to the floor to show everyone that's not who we were. This is who we are. And instead, they were 2 of 17 from the floor to start the game, and they were down again by 20 at the half. Georgia had 49 points. Just no competitive spirit. That's what that's what kind of bothers me right now, and that's what Luke was talking about. Because his best players maybe aren't the guys that are the hungriest or the ones that are look like the most competitive right now. I think the Basson kid needs to play more just because I think he competes, especially defensively, and they don't have a lot of that. But, yeah, man, anybody can play hard and have fun when they're hitting shots. The make of a team is when it's not going well. Can you buckle down and get stops? And they just stopped playing on defense, I thought. And it was embarrassing, and I'm glad he acted the way he acted because it's the truth. Like, Luke Laux is a competitive dude, man. You don't play 4 years in the ACC on those Leonard Hamilton teams and not be competitive and not be like tough-minded. And so, that was just – it was really disconcerting, and it's part of the growing pains when you have literally a whole new roster. Well, he hasn't coached any of these guys. Only 2 of them are returnees. So they're trying to meld with each other. And you've got some guys that are mid-major guys that maybe don't know quite yet, or maybe they're just comfortable with losing. And that doesn't need to be the case. Don't get comfortable with being blown out. I mean, they got to go play Houston next. Good grief. They're going to be 25-point underdogs in that game. Houston's one of the best programs in the country, and those dudes, as Luke said after the game,
man.
They will absolutely compete. Yeah. They love to compete. When the ball is thrown in the air, they are competing like bulldogs for 40 minutes. What is your team doing? Just chucking threes and hoping? Or are they going to compete too? You might not be good enough to win. Maybe they just aren't good enough to beat Georgia and Texas A&M. Those are decent teams, probably NCAA tournament teams. They're probably not good enough to beat Houston. But you can compete in battle. And that was just really, really it was just disconcerting. I keep coming back to that. Not only they can't make shots, they don't finish at the rim, but they let the other team do whatever they want on the other side of the floor. It's also year one, and we just got to December. He will get better players. He will get he'll get better players. I think he'll get better players. He'll get guys that maybe buy in more to his defensive philosophy, which they're going to give up points because they're going to go fast. They want a sped-up game. But you want to give up – you don't want to just give up dunk after dunk after dunk, and you don't want to give up open threes in half court. They were just getting torched anyway. If Georgia could have hit a couple more wide-open threes, they would have set the all-time record for opponent scoring against the Florida State basketball team in Game 7. Of his first year. I mean, they got 107. The record in the Tucker Center is 111. The record for any team scoring against Florida State is 115, and that was set 70 years or 60 years ago. That was. It'll be interesting. I'm interested in the changes he's going to make because guys like Jones, McGee, they're skilled guys offensively, and Luke wants to shoot a bunch of threes. That's what he wants to do. That's his style. He wants to break you down off the dribble and then kick it out to guys that shoot threes. Wiggins, too. They all can theoretically shoot, quote-unquote, although they're not making any shots. I don't think Jones has made like 2 threes since he hit 10 in one game. But are they going to compete on the other end of the floor? Because I think, as he said, he'd rather win with guys that maybe aren't as good but fight and compete. He'd rather lose with those guys than lose with guys that are just chucking up threes, and if they miss, they just kind of give up whatever they want on the other end. So there'll be, I assume, practice on Wednesday, practice on Thursday, whenever they're practicing, probably, hopefully, both days. Won't be the most pleasant style of practice because those were eye-opening embarrassments, and you don't like a team to get comfortable, not just losing, but getting embarrassed. You don't want, and that goes back to the football team, man. One of the bad characteristics and traits of Mike Norvell and his football team since he's been here is getting used to losing. It doesn't seem to impact them. It impacts him, or at least when he's talking to us behind the podium, it looks like it does. I don't know that it impacts the team nearly as much as you'd like it to. And that's kind of a challenge for any program in 2025, 2026. You got guys that have been here for a year. Are they really invested in what they're doing? How much do they really care about playing against Florida? But at the same time, man, you want guys that are competitive. Compete. That what bothered me so much about Gainesville was that defense didn't compete. Like, are you not embarrassed by this? Go get a personal foul because you throw his helmet off. or because y'all tackle them after the whistle and body slam them. Like, get tired of this. And they didn't, and that was what was very, very troubling. But it was the last game of the season, thank heavens.
I have no idea what you said for the last 5 minutes because I've been entranced by this clip of Dave Aranda showing the local media highlight footage of his signing class, and he's just sitting Indian, crisscross applesauce.
There you go. Well, hey, good catch, Aslan. Woo. Good catch. Welcome to the 21st century, buddy.
Woo. That's close. Yeah, he's just sitting there with his legs crossed on the ground of this auditorium, and there's all the he just show. What an interesting guy. We can maybe I don't know if I can get him on this show because he's sort of coach speak property, but I can maybe let him know that one of the parts of coach speak is part of this program. And let's get him on and talk about life.
Yeah, he's a coach speak guy. By the way, so Florida State signed Fordham, right? Wasn't there a kid named Fordham?
Caden Fordham, yes. I think Caden, right? Because
Todd Fordham's son?
Yeah.
But that means Caden Fordham is the kid that plays at NC State.
Yeah.
So his brother, I guess, is he a tight end?
Yes, correct.
Signed with Florida State on Wednesday. As you know, guys.
Corbin, yeah.
Corbin Fordham.
Matt and I talked about it in the segment earlier, Corey. We ran through all the signings.
Any chance does Caden have any eligibility left that he could come play with his brother?
I don't think so. You know what's funny too, but not funny.
Because he only had 130 tackles this year. Yeah. Why would you want that guy on your team when you can have the other guys you went and got in the portal? And he's also a legacy. Like Todd Fordham was a great offensive lineman for this program in the 90s.
Played in the league too, man. Yeah.
And why would you not want him to play? He only had 15 tackles against the Noles.
Yeah.
And followed that up with against UNC on the next Saturday. He only had 12 tackles and a sack. But hey, you got Elijah Herring.
You know what I noticed? So as part of my prediction for the NC State game, I was joking around about they got all these guys with Florida State ties. DJ Elliott's going to coach the game of his life. Todd Fordham's son's going to make a bunch of tackles. Trey Thomas's kid is going to make all these big plays. And I think Trey Thomas might have had 2 or 3 tackles, but he actually was the one who recovered the squirrel white muffed punt.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then Fordham's son led them in tackles. And now that DJ Elliott's a legacy, but he was obviously part of, Jimbo's first staff here, which by the way, if we had more show to fill, I would have pushed back and been like, was Jimbo Fisher a slam dunk? There are no slam dunks, Corey. You have to take chances, but we've covered all the bases on all that. I did want to thank somebody, Corey. Matt, you met Matt down
Matt LaSerre.
No, that guy too, obviously.
Yeah.
But firefighter Matt. Apparently, this is our thing now. We've got a fetish on the show of befriending firefighters. He's down in South Florida. Gave me 2 shirts from his firehouse, and I gave you one in the swamp on Saturday. And so he emailed me the other day to confirm that receive it. I did. We appreciate it a lot. I let him know in email, but I just want to let him know on the show as well. It means more when your name is broadcast on this great podcast of ours. So if you're a firefighter out there, everybody, and you want to give us a shirt, find us. We're all over this great country of ours covering this football team, and we'll take them.
By the way, since you did that, and I actually wore that shirt on Wednesday after a workout.
Nice
what
shirt.
I do, Aslan, is I go and work out, and when I run, I get so sweaty that I have to take a change of shirt, obviously. I can't drive home in that sweaty, gross rag. Yeah. So I take an extra shirt to wear, and I wore it proudly.
Nice.
Okay, here we go. Oh, Jeff. So I met Jeff outside of the swamp on Saturday. Nice. He was wearing a Jameis jersey.
Nice.
He was with a Gator buddy, and I can't remember. Yeah, we did take a picture, and he was a big dude. I wish he'd have played in the game. He was a very big dude that I bet could have at least tried to stop Jaden Ball better than the team did. But just wanted to give a shout out to him. I meant to do that obviously a couple days ago. Right. Very nice and very complimentary of the show. So that was very nice for him stopping and saying hello.
All right, we'll do maybe one more show. We do have a couple questions we didn't get to. I just don't know. This wasn't a mailbag extended show. Maybe the next one will be, and maybe we'll have some stuff. Maybe we'll have some more tea leaves in terms of a potential hire, either front office or staff wise, because I think, on the way out here, part of the headlines thing that I thought was one of the bigger takeaways, I guess, I hate to put Ira on the spot like this, but I think he was saying that probably the GM thing is, weeks, perhaps like next week after, but it sounded like Ira thought any kind of staffing decisions. And then you mentioned, I think at the beginning of the show too, Corey, so I don't want to give him all the credit, but maybe by the end of this week, we'll get some new names. At least assistant coaches,
also,
right?
because
that can help.
But I also think the fan base needs it, man.
Yes.
Like, again, this has been a perfectly fine signing class, especially by Mike Norvell standards. It ranks in the top 15 in the country. They just got, as we were doing this, a USF kid to flip. So suck on that, Heartline.
Yeah.
Hope that stung. Get used to it.
That bum.
Yeah, get used to being fourth fiddle in this state. But yeah, so it's been a fine recruiting class, and I know Matt talked about that. But what was I saying? What were you just talking about? Because you can't be transparent, man. Like, don't just say you're going to make these changes, and we're all like, okay, what are they? And we just don't hear anything. And now it's been the season's only been over for 3 days. It's not like it's been 3 weeks. But you need to give this fan base some real information on what you're planning to do, not stealthily, not stealth-wise, not rumors, not innuendo, but actual releases with facts, quickly. Get out ahead of this, man. Make some decisions and make some announcements so we can start to at least try to feel better, or even if you don't feel better, have a sense of what this thing is going to look like. Because right now, that release was 2.5 weeks ago, about making some structures. So 18 days ago, not a peep sense about any changes at all. That's too long. So now that signing day is over and most of your kids are committed, I know it still goes on for a couple more days, but it's essentially over. Now would be a great time, Thursday morning, everyone. Michael Alford, Peter Collins, President McCullough, whoever wants to make an announcement, I don't care. Make an announcement and give us some information about what this thing even might look like. Give us some staff announcements. Give us something. Because right now it just looks like lip service. And it doesn't look like anything is happening. I'm not saying that's fair. I'm saying as the fans looking in, every minute that goes by where they don't hear what's going on and what changes are being made, the more they're going to think that was just to keep us calm. And you really didn't have a plan in place. And you were just doing that to save face. But you don't have a plan in place and you're not making any changes. Not saying that's reality. That's perception the longer this drags on. So quit dragging it on. Let's hear some real information.
That's it for us today. We'll be back with another show hopefully this week. If not, we'll have probably a lot to talk about on Monday. Check out warchant.com in the meantime, as well as the Jeff Cameron Show, 1 to 4 o'clock. We also had a full, thorough, comprehensive recruiting wrap-up show with Michael Langston and Matt LaSerre. Go check out the preview of that. Might be on the Seminole Headlines podcast feed. If not, it'll be on Warchant TV. That is our YouTube channel. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Warchant BOGO, your promo code.